Bruno Fernandes is so good in 2025 that fans are actually seeing him as a future Ballon d'Or winner. Actually, something more. Many Man United fans think that he'll have a very good chance of winning it this year if he manages to win the Europa League and the Nations League with Portugal in June. But let's face it, yes, Bruno is world class, but he'll probably never get a realistic shot at the Ballon d'Or if he continues to play for Man United. And if he really wants to add the award to his trophy case, there's only one place to go: Real Madrid. The rumours of him switching Old Trafford for Santiago Bernabéu are getting more and more traction in recent weeks.
Real Madrid want Bruno Fernandes and would be willing to offer £90 million for him.
And it actually makes sense, and we'll explain why in a minute. But first, let's talk about his 2024-25 and how that season ranks among all of his years with the Red Devils. First things first, Bruno Fernandes has 16 goals and 15 assists in 2024-25, or a total of 31 in all competitions. Most importantly, 15 of those 31 have come in the last 3 months, since the start of the 2025 calendar year. It is precisely this consistency in Fernandes' game that has increased the hype surrounding him, and subsequently attracted the attention of Real Madrid. If we look a little deeper into the stats, Bruno is first in chances created in the whole league, overtaking Cole Palmer and Mohamed Salah. Also, he's 5th in total assists and in expected assists. However, the metric that personally surprises me the most, he has the 4th highest rating among all players in the Premier League. I mean, of course, he's a top player, but he's playing for a team that's currently 13th in the table. You know, there aren't many players out there who can maintain high standards for teams that aren't getting positive results on a regular basis. So, all this goes to show us that Bruno is indeed one of the best playmakers in the world, and undoubtedly the most creative midfielder in the Prem, probably alongside Palmer. But where does 2024-25 stand for him personally? Well, he has actually already beaten his last 3 seasons at Old Trafford statistically, and we still have at least a month until the end of the campaign. However, the way things are going at the moment, Bruno is unlikely to beat his best season with the Red Devils in 2020-21, when he finished with a staggering 46 contributions in all competitions. It's also important to note, however, that Manchester United were playing in the Europa League final at the time, something they have the chance to do again this season, and according to some statisticians, they have a pretty good chance of winning it in May. Now, let's dive into the 4 reasons why Bruno Fernandes would perfectly fit in Real Madrid's squad. Number 1. A Luka Modric replacement. Let's face it, replacing Luka Modric, it's never going to be easy, especially now in the current state of Real Madrid. In the first season after the departure of Toni Kroos, with one of the midfielders in that legendary duo gone, Madrid's midfield was in shambles in the first half of the season. Yes, they managed to eventually stabilize it through Dani Ceballos, but during his time on the sidelines, it's clear that the midfield has rarely been so out of sync if we look at the last decade. And here comes Bruno Fernandes. He's been regarded as a pure number 10, playing behind the striker, but since the arrival of Ruben Amorim and the implementation of his trademark 3-4-3 formation, Bruno has had 2 roles, either as an inside playmaker, as he did against Leicester and Real Sociedad, or as a more wide player, as we saw against his last 2 matches against Nottingham Forest and Man City. Interestingly, despite playing further away from the box against Leicester and Sociedad, he actually contributed more in those games than in the Forest and City games. As a midfielder, he finished with a total of 6 goal contributions, while as a winger, he finished with 0. This just goes to show that whenever Bruno is deployed as a winger, he can use his amazing passing range to help United occupy the empty space behind the opposition's defense. His assist for Rasmus Højlund against Leicester is a perfect example. So, our point here is that Bruno could actually be a fantastic replacement for both Modric and Kroos. He has the long passing range, like Kroos, and also has the knack of contributing offensively, like Modric.
The way he's evolving into a midfielder and the way that Modric is not going to keep going forever, I could see Bruno Fernandes in a Real Madrid shirt behind a Bellingham.
Number 2. Bruno Fernandes is a Galactico. Another reason that just adds to the hype is pretty simple. Bruno Fernandes has always been a superstar. Sure, there've been a few slumps in his game, but ever since the Portuguese joined Man United in January 2020, he has been the best player in the team around 90% of the time. And what has Real Madrid always been about, especially in the Florentino Perez era? That's right, to have the best players in the world, no matter what it takes, and Bruno fits into that category quite comfortably. In what looks set to be one of Madrid's busiest summers in recent years, President Perez is not even hesitating to stop his policy of signing Galacticos. Trent Alexander-Arnold is 99% complete. Young Spanish centre-back Dean Huijsen, who has been a revelation in the Premier League, has also been linked with a move to the Madrid giant, and says it's an honour to hear rumours of Madrid's interest in him. And then there is Bruno Fernandes, who will be the icing on the cake. But there is a logic behind Madrid's potential activity in the transfer market. Over the years, Real Madrid has built a reputation for being the team that spends the most when things aren't going their way. This was the case after 2018-19, when Perez spent over €350 million on Eden Hazard, Rodrigo, Ferland Mendy, and others, as well as after another trophyless season, 2008-9, where Kaká and Cristiano Ronaldo arrived for a combined fee of over $150 million. So, with this in mind, we're now witnessing a slight decline for Los Blancos, especially if we compare their current state to the team that won 2 Champions Leagues over the last 3 years. La Liga is already out of their control after the loss to Valencia. The Champions League will also be difficult to manage in the presence of other strong teams like Arsenal, and then potentially PSG and Barcelona. So, it's becoming more and more possible for Real Madrid to end the season trophyless, unless they pull off 5 straight top performances in the quarters, semis, and final in Europe. Of course, we haven't forgot the Copa del Rey final, but the Cup has never been a measure of success for Real Madrid, and we all know that. Number 3. A born leader and mentality monster. Look, for all those who argue that Bruno Fernandes is not a leader and not the man to set an example for the whole squad, as Mr. Roy Keane does here.
I've had enough of that rubbish,
no,
man.
Come on, but who brought them back into the game? Who's bringing you guys back into the game? You can't. It's not Bruno, Roy. When we're talking about somebody who can actually do something to save you lot, it's Bruno who's doing it.
15th in the league, and he's saving them. Praise the Lord.
Bruno has definitely developed into a leader in 2025. Yes, he's had his moments of immaturity this season, well beyond his years, such as the red cards in successive games against Spurs and Porto, but you can be sure that this has been caused because of his drive for the game, the desire to deliver his best to Man United. And when you get a red card in soft situations like those two, it's really frustrating. So, Bruno's attitude could be more or less justified, but overall, Bruno has built a reputation as a leader who wears the captain's armband with pride. As a result, his teammates and coaches often talk about how he's the one who pushes everyone to do better, always demanding more. During Man United's game against local rivals, Man City, I noticed a very interesting moment involving Bruno Fernandes. In the second half, the Portuguese received in the middle, and he often tends to play a long ball out to the right wing and take the attack to the next level in similar situations. However, he saw that his compatriot, Diogo Dalot, was not occupying the space, and simply gestured for him to run in there and receive the ball. Yes, these are just some of the little things that show the mentality and drive of a player who wants to make his teammates better and more demanding. Number 4. Experience in top European competitions. One thing is absolutely certain about Bruno Fernandes. He's built up an impressive CV in Europe's elite football tournaments, demonstrating his ability to perform under the brightest lights. His journey through Europe's top competitions, it began with Sporting CP, where he made his Champions League debut in 2017, scoring in a 3-2 win over Olympiacos. Fernandes then moved to Manchester United in January 2020 and continued to make his mark. In the 2020-21 season, he contributed 4 goals in 6 Champions League appearances. The Red Devils didn't make it to the knockout stages, but his influence was also felt in the Europa League that season, helping the team to reach the final. Fernandes' performance in the Europa League were particularly remarkable. After scoring a hat-trick against Real Sociedad in the second leg of the round of 16, Bruno broke the record for the most goals and assists combined in the competition since its rebranding in 2009, with a total of 41 goal involvements. Now, it's time for you to say, yes, obviously the chances of such a transfer happening, they're very slim. But do you see Bruno in a Real Madrid shirt? Let us know in the comments below. Also, if you enjoyed that one, please consider subscribing to the channel or check our latest upload. Catch you there.